Hello, this is John Brueckner from USA Distance Running, and I'm joined here today to answer 5 of the questions we got from a survey of runners that we just did. We asked runners a question, what were your 2 biggest problems or questions that you had when it comes to running? And so I just wanted to take the time today to answer some of those questions that came through. And if you haven't taken the survey yet, you can. We'd always love to hear your feedback, and we get back to as many of those people whom we can. All right, so let's just dive right in. Okay, first question, how do you train without a running plan? Okay, so this is a question that we've seen. Some people don't use training plans, other people like exclusively use training plans. So how could you put your own training plan together? One, in reading the different literature and looking at different running programs and running plans, you see that there's really 3 main types of runs that you want to have in your training plan. And those are 1, interval runs, 2 is tempo runs, and 3 is just a long run. So you want to include these 3 types of runs in your training program. Usually 2 to 3 of them each week. And in between those days, you have either take your day off or you do lighter runs, your easy runs on the days in between. Let your body recover and recuperate from these runs. So first one, interval training. Those can range from anywhere from like 200 meters, 400 meters, all the way up to like mile repeats and stuff like that. And so those are faster paced runs with shorter breaks in between the runs. And these, for the most part, you want to do at a pace that you can do consistently throughout the whole workout. And the second one is tempo runs. So those are a bit shorter runs. Again, on the distance side, when you run the middle part of the run, you might start slower, work your way up to the middle part of the run, and then slow down again for kind of like a cool down at the end. You could also do these as start slow, speed up a little bit in the middle and then finish hard. You do that as well. So the middle part of it, basically kind of like running at the lactic threshold. For most of these, pushing pretty hard on these, but at a pace you can kind of keep for a good little while. So you might do 20, 30 minutes of the middle of a tempo run. You might do 20 or 30 minutes hard at a pace that you might be able to hold for about an hour or so. So probably about the lactic acid threshold. And then the third run is the distance run. Now that's going to be your longest run of the week. And that one's going to be a bit slower. Generally going to be done at under race pace for whatever race distances you're going. And that one's just the key there. The thing you're trying to do is just run a lot of miles. And so that'll be your longest run of the week. And it's just not about the speed again, it's about putting in the miles. And because as you do these longer distances, it's okay to do them slower because your body, it's still adjusting to it, it's still training your body to be able to do longer distances. And the physiological effects are still there even though you're going slow, but you're just putting, instead of doing like a shorter workout, like an interval workout, where you're putting a lot of stress into a little bit of time, here you're putting in a long run, you're putting low stress over a longer period of time, and there's different physiological benefits for that as opposed to like an interval training. But it still has its benefits and still has to have its place in our training. So those are 3 basic types of runs: interval run, the tempo run, and the distance run. You want to have each of those 3 runs in your running plans, and then the days in between those are usually done lighter distance runs. Lighter, shorter distance runs. All right, what's the next question? How do you breathe when running? Or how should you breathe when running? Some people say it matters, other people say it don't. I really don't think it makes much of a difference how you're breathing when you run, in the sense that it doesn't really matter if you're breathing just through your mouth or breathing in through your nose or breathing out through your mouth. Personally, I've tried breathing in through my nose and then out through my mouth, but I cannot do it. I do not get enough oxygen. So I found what works best for me is just to leave my mouth open, as a bug catcher, and just breathe in and out through my mouth. It's one thing that you don't really, shouldn't really even be thinking a lot about during your runs. The only thing you do is maybe use it as a light gauge. It's a kind of loose gauge of how intense your running is. All right, so how do you prevent running injuries? So this is a great question. But the truth is, when it comes to running, you will never eliminate all injuries. It's always about managing the risk and decreasing the risk of injuries. So one of the ways you can decrease the risk of injuries is running on softer surfaces, like running on trails as opposed dirt trails, running in the woods as opposed to running on a concrete road, or even on some of the bike paths, the paved bike paths that are out there. So running on running on the different surfaces is better, or running on the softer surfaces is better. You know, sometimes when I run along the sidewalk, I don't actually run on the sidewalk, I run along it in the median there in the grass between the road and the sidewalk. Gets me off the pavement there, the concrete. Again, it's, you know, you could also run, if there's room, run off the shoulder of the road if you're running on a road, and running the dirt there right along the edge. Usually that would be okay. If there's a wide enough shoulder there, enough room, it's usually not too bad. It's a good place to run where you can. So that's just a way of changing it up, putting less stress on your body. Another thing is on making sure you actually have easy days, and don't do all of your runs at hard paces. On your easy days, do them easy. You know, you come back saying, "Oh, that was easy," and you should be good. It's a recovery day, and I'll also put less stress on your body instead of always trying to push really hard. And the third thing you can do is cross training. I bike once a week to kind of give my body a break, give my knees a break from all the running. And so that's a good way of keeping it in shape. It's also a good way of coming back from injuries. Biking and other, you know, types of low impact workouts, whether it's an elliptical machine, something like that, or, you know, even walking on a treadmill can help a little bit. On an incline treadmill can help a little bit. It's a little less damaging to your body. Because running is hard on your body. You know, usually I can have trouble with my knees and my hips, my back. I have to watch that kind of stuff and make sure that I'm putting in the proper cross training, proper rest. Make sure I'm taking care of my body. And also the other thing is, don't go cheap on shoes. You know, buy shoes that actually work for you. Go and talk to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to shoes. And then once you find a good pair of shoes, stick with it. You know, I've had the same. I wear the same brand of shoes, the same shoe line as I did my junior year of high school. So now for about 15 years, you know, I've worn the same exact pair of same line of shoes, the Asics Gel Nimbus. Those are the shoes I wear whenever I go buy a new pair of shoes. It's those, which makes buying shoes really easy. I don't have to think about it. I don't go look up, see what the newest and greatest thing is. I know those shoes work. They keep me injury free. And then once I begin to feel extra pain in my knees or my lower back is when I usually switch shoes. If I know it's been a long enough time, then my knees begin to hurt more than normal. My back maybe starts to hurt, give me more problems. That's when I go out and I immediately buy another pair of shoes. Because it's a lot cheaper to buy, you know, $160 pair of shoes than it is to have, physical therapy bills, you know, or doctor bills because you had an injury, because you didn't change your shoes. You know, I've had a number of those injuries and they're no fun. They take you out of running. But those have happened when I was cheap on shoes and just trying to hold on to a pair of shoes for as long as possible. You don't want to do that. Don't be cheap on the shoes. It's another way of minimizing the risk of injury. And then lastly, just listen to your body. You know, if your body is telling you need to take a little bit of a break, take a little break. Take that next day off. You know, make sure you're, you know, ice your knees or ice your body parts that are bothering you if you need to. And just be cognizant of those things. It's better to take a day off, or it's better to run a little bit slower, or maybe even cut back some miles than to get hurt and then have to completely stop running for a matter, even if it's only for 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to lose a lot in that time. It's better to go slower, take some time off when you feel the need to keep your body healthy. And yeah, we could go on that. There's some other things too, but that's a good starter for that one. All right. So how much should you do, or how much should you run so that you don't get out of shape? Okay. So when you're training, right, for a race, obviously you're training. So this training, and this isn't really a concern, but this is more of a concern in between training for races, right? Taking some time off, or you want to scale back a little bit before you start your next training cycle for your next race. So what should you do in those times? During those times, you are going to lose some of your, you're going to lose some of your fitness. It's inevitable, it will happen, but it's okay. All right. So we start there. It's okay. Your body's going to need some breaks from running. Your mind needs some breaks from running. Sometimes it's just good to take a little bit of time off. What I suggest is going to run. If you're running every day, go to running every other day, or maybe even just take a whole week off, just 1 week, and then go to running every other day for a couple of weeks. So you lose some fitness there. You'll still maintain some things. You'll still be able to go out there and run and enjoy running. And then you just gradually start working back up. Maybe add some cross training in there, some lighter cross training workouts. Keep the running during this time really light and easy. Get rid of the interval runs, get rid of the tempo runs. You may even, for the first couple of weeks, want to get rid of even those long runs. And then just start gradually increasing the mileage. Go to a place where maybe you're running about 4 or 5 days a week at an easy pace. You can keep that for a little while you're waiting for your next training cycle to start. And then before your training cycle starts in earnest, you want to do a little base phase where, again, you're working up the mileage, getting your mileage back up either to where you were previously or coming back at a higher mileage. Because when you do these training cycles, right, you have a training cycle, let's say you're doing 40 miles a week training for a race. And then you run the race, take let's say a month of easy, take a week off, you start doing another 2 weeks of easy, and then you have a week where you start pumping the mileage back up again. You can actually come back then at a greater mileage. So you start coming back, that month you started easing up or started increasing the mileage a little bit towards the end of that month, and then following that second month, starting to think about running again for another race. You just gradually work those miles back up. You can actually work them up above your previous mileage without hurting yourself, without a huge risk of injury. So you could go up to, about 45 miles maybe this next cycle, and then increase your mileage, which will help increase your fitness for this next training run. But the key thing is to make sure you have some of that break in there. Because if you don't have that break in there, again, you're going to end up with more injuries. You're going to end up getting burned out. You're going to end up with overtraining. So you want to have that little break, let your body recover, gradually work those miles back up, but then you come back with a little bit more. Your body can come back stronger and healthier and ready to go again, ready to do those interval workouts, those tempo workouts, those really long runs again. So you will lose some, but don't worry about that. That's okay. If you take 2 weeks off, it's probably going to hurt. It's going to hurt a bit more. The most you want to do is take a week off and then gradually start working your miles back up. All right, and the last question is, how do you learn to enjoy running? I'm someone who enjoys running. I just love it. Love getting out there, getting my stride out. Just love going on long runs, love racing, love all of it, right? Love being around running, love going to races. So, but there's other people, right? And many of you watching this, you probably already love running. But there's some of you as well who don't. Maybe you're just run because you need to be healthier. And as a way to get healthier, to maybe lose some weight, you're running. But you really don't like it. It's just this is easier maybe for you than some other forms of workouts, or maybe your friends do it, maybe got you into it, but you really don't know why they enjoy it so much and can't really get into yourself. A few tips on that would be to make sure you're starting slow enough and easy enough to make running enjoyable. Because there's been times when running hasn't been very enjoyable for me, and that's when I've tried to start out too hard, tried to do too much, try to push myself too hard. And then it just ends up being, especially when you're running by yourself, it's just hard. It's difficult, those are the times when I've ended up walking during the runs, or, you're, like my hip flares up, I've had to walk because of that. And it's just miserable and doesn't make you want to go out and run again. You kind of have to force yourself to go out there and run and do the workout. So start slow enough, start easy enough, at an easy enough pace so you don't get discouraged. Don't go out there and expect to be running fast, like somebody who's been maybe a friend of yours who's been running for a long time, trying to keep up with them on their runs, going their pace. Don't do it. It will be miserable, right? You're not there yet. You got to build up to that. And if you do, running will be so much more enjoyable. Another thing to do is to watch good runners and try to copy and mimic their form. You can watch runners and you can usually tell if somebody has a good form around. It just looks beautiful, looks great. It looks like they're running so effortlessly with so much ease, with so much power. And so look at those people and try to copy the way that they run. This can be a very good way of learning to run yourself. Because there's some people when I see their running form, I'm like, no wonder they don't like running. Their running form is terrible. They're holding themselves back. The way you run will affect how fast you go and the ease with which you can run. You can go on to go on to YouTube and watch runners run. I used to go and watch Bekele back when I was in high school. I would watch him do some of his runs, go on to YouTube, find some of his runs, watch them, watch, the Olympic, 10K, Olympic 5K, runs like that, and watch their strides and see how they do it. And then, so those are two good things. Start slow enough, start easy enough. When you're coming back from these runs, you shouldn't be all out of breath. Make sure you're running at a slow enough pace where you're not coming out of breath. The fact is that elite runners actually do a lot of their training at way under race pace. They actually do it at an easier pace. Obviously, if you and I were trying to run their pace, the minutes per mile that they're running, it would be insane, and we wouldn't be able to keep it. It would be a very difficult run. But for them, it's just an easy run. And the same thing when you're training as well. You should do most of your running as easier runs and just try to do more miles. When you're starting out, keep the miles down, okay? You'll get to the more miles. You'll build up slowly over time. And one of the things that I do is I just run for time. So I don't have a number of miles that I do. What this allows, for the most part, I don't have a set mileage that I do. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. For the most part, I keep it to a minutes. So that way I can go at whatever, at a good pace, at a slow enough pace. Because sometimes if I was to say, I'm going to go out there and run 6 miles, and I want to do it easy today, right? Then I get out there and think, I have other things to do. There's chores to do around the house. I have a meeting coming up this evening, those things. And I just say, I really need to get this run done. So let's just run at a little bit faster pace, and the next time we come out, we'll do it easier. But when you run for time, it really doesn't matter what your pace is. You're going to be out there for the same amount of time. So I usually just do out and backs, which works fine for me. And so I set my stopwatch because I can keep a fairly consistent pace. I set my stopwatch for half of my running time. Will run out, stopwatch goes off, I head back in. And so that's a really easy way of doing it. Then the pace doesn't matter. I can take the pace that's appropriate for that day. If I'm a little bit faster, great. If I'm a little bit slower, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be out there for the same amount of time. Just the mileage will change. And that's when you're starting, or maybe struggling with running. Even if you have been running before, just slow it down. Go out there, just do it for time. Start with a time that's fairly easy, and then just slowly but surely over the weeks, add 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and you'll get your mileage up there. You get the time running up there as well. But one of the things you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see your progress as you run for the same amount of time, but you're doing a greater distance. And that can be a lot of fun because you won't necessarily even, might not even notice it right away, but you'll just find that, hey, look at this. This, doing 20 minutes was hard before, but now I'm doing 20 minutes, it's easy, and you know, I'm going so much farther during these 20 minutes. And so that can be really encouraging and help you enjoy running more. And another thing is to set some goals. You know, have a race that you want to do. You know, schedule a race, and that'll force you to train, and that'll force you to get into it. And then when you go out and race, get in that racing environment. You get to see how well you do. You get to run against some other people, be with a bunch of other people who love running, enjoy running, and that can be a great help too. And it can help you through some of the times if when it does start to get long. And so just keep at it too. The more you do it, the better you feel, the easier it'll become, and the more you will enjoy running. So hey, thanks a lot for joining me on this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure if you haven't taken the survey, go and take it now, or leave a question in the comments, and hopefully we'll shoot another video like this, answering some more questions that are out there from runners like you. So thanks a lot. Get out there and run.